Hello and welcome to the Whisky.com news on the 25th of September 2018. Yeah, and we have a huge number of interesting news this week, and this time they're all around the world. And as always, we start at the island of Great Britain, and we start with Scotland. The Lagg Distillery. I've already talked about the Lagg Distillery. There's a new distillery on the Isle of Arran, also belonging to the distillery of Arran, and they just got their stills. So if you go to Whisky.com/news, then you will find this news, and there's a little video there and everything written down there in detail. Next up, we have another new distillery, but this distillery is already working. The Isle of Raasay. I think I already talked about that as well. And they are starting a new program, and it's their Cask program. Every year, they're gonna sell 20 casks to shops or to private people, and these casks are then still stored on their site. You can come to their distillery and try your casks, and you can have that cask bottled. It's about £5,000 for your own cask. So if you have 200 liters and you have a bit of loss and you have 0.7 bottles, then you come at a price of around £30, so I don't know, $35 or something like that. And if you then have bottling and taxes, depends on where you live, then you probably end up something like 35, 40 pounds. So it's going to be just below $50. And yeah, so if you're interested in some new stuff, then you might want to buy one of these casks. Yeah, next up is something for very courageous people, because the Tomatin distillery has been haunted. Yeah, it's actually a marketing gag from Tomatin that they do since 2016. They all dress up as ghosts and ghouls and decorate the distillery, and then there are special tours through the distillery as a haunted distillery. So if you have some time on hand and you can fly to Scotland, 26th of October, there are going to be the tours through the distillery as a haunted distillery. Yeah. Then we have some news about a very, very expensive bottle, and that is the Highland Park 50 years old. Two sherry casks from 1964 have been joined together in 2010 and then bottled as a 50-year-old now, and we have 274 bottles of Highland Park 50. And just to give you a round number, we are talking about 15,000 euros, which is probably something like $16,000. I'm not quite sure, but around that number. Varies a lot. And that's it for Scotland, and we move on to Ireland. And we have seen a little trend in the past. We have seen that there are many musicians or people from sports, Metallica, Bob Dylan, they invested in whiskey and brought out their own whiskey, and now we have the band U2. I think it's just Bono, who invests 50 million euros into a new Irish distillery. The distiller is in Masterdistiller, never been there, which is a bit south, bit inwards of Dublin. And if you know how much you have to invest, 50 million is going to be a quite sophisticated distillery. It's going to be not a small one, but hopefully a good one. So, but I'm gonna guess he's gonna do a good thing. Just my personal guess. So we're gonna keep looking at this news, and hopefully it's gonna develop in the future. Yeah, then we have some news from over the big ocean in America, and it's the Masterdistiller from Heaven Hill that is changing his position, and he is actually going to make his mark. So he is replacing Greg Davis, and I think I've interviewed Greg Davis back in 2015, and he's a really nice chap. So hopefully we we hear something from where Greg Davis ends up, because he's a really, really nice guy. I don't think I've met Danny Porter, because he's the guy who is moving and replacing him. Don't think I've met him yet, but maybe I will do in the future when I visit Maker's Mark again. So, more news from America, more news from Kentucky, and that is from Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace is releasing their Antique Collection in 2018. These are 5 bottles, 5 bottlings of very limited numbers, and they're also pretty expensive now. They have been a bit cheaper or less pricey in the past. And unfortunately for us, it's not such a big news because they're not reaching the European market. So I think it's a North American or US only thing. So if you can get your hands on these bottles, they are very expensive, but they are limited and in high demand. Then we have a news from Jim Beam, and Jim Beam has a new Nose Little book. That's kind of a series, and he's now bringing out the chapter 2, Nose Simple Task. It's a blended whiskey, and it's a blended whiskey from Kentucky Straight Rye, Canadian rye, and Canadian whiskey made from corn. So it's kind of a wild one, and it's a US only edition. But I'm not quite sure how this wild card of a mixture of whiskeys is gonna end up in taste. So unfortunately, I'm probably not gonna find out how it tastes. So that's it from America, and we move on over another ocean, over the Pacific, and we end up in Japan. Japan is releasing a very, very limited edition again, and it's a Japanese Harmony from Suntory Hibiki. Yeah, Suntory Hibiki Japanese Harmony is a normal bottling from Suntory, and they are now doing a 30-year Jubilee edition for Hibiki. And what they do is they honor the kimono. The kimono is that bathrobe thingy, but it's a very, most often it's very artistic with little birds, flowers, fern, something on it. And this is what ended up on the bottle as well. If you go on Whisky.com/news and you find these news, then you see a very, very beautiful picture. So the content of the bottle is not new. It's just normal Japanese Harmony in there, but it's a very, very nice bottle, artist style, limited. So it's probably only for the collectors. And the last news comes from Europe, and that is Sweden. And we have a new world record in the whiskey industry, and that is the biggest range of whiskeys in a bar. And that is from a Swedish island. And now they have the official title that they have the biggest whiskey bar in the Hotel Skansen on Öland. Not quite sure if I pronounced that right. And they have 1,179 different types of whiskey. Yeah, so nice. Congratulations to the Sweden there. And thank you very much for watching. If you found this video interesting, then please feel free to share this news with your friends. Thank you, and see you next time.